All right, everyone, it's Taco Tuesday. You know what that means. It's profit day. Let's go ahead and get into the top prop bets today. So guys, unfortunately, this is going to be a typical Taco Tuesday. It seems like over the past couple of weeks where we are not getting as many awesome props really as we would want to pair with these tacos. Okay. So I see it as more of a small unit winning type of day. Like I always say, the average player that's playing on PrizePicks is probably doing 5-unit bets as their average unit bets. I think we could this is probably more of a 3-unit type of profit day in that regard rather than like a massive day. Let's go ahead and touch on really the best bets that we are currently getting on the slate. And I want to start out with this pitching prop for Zach Eflin. Okay. Very rarely do we get a pitching prop where the fantasy score is a really good one. And the only time that we get it is when the Vegas line is going to be over the projected PrizePicks line and the projected data is also over. Now it's not a huge edge, but typically speaking, these ones do hit more than 54% of the time. I always reference 54% of the time because that's the approach we need to go with to have a profitable long-term edge on PrizePicks. Now, the only issue that I have with this is that we can see pretty heavily favored to get under -147 for that Vegas line. So definitely not a lock and load. And that's what I alluded to earlier today is that, or earlier in this video, is that not the perfect slate for the tacos. So I'm going to be playing this one. It's one of the best ones that we have available on the slate, although far from a lock and load. I never like to use the word lock, but far from a, one that we really love. Now, I will say we are getting some pretty interesting hitting fantasy score props. Only one that kind of matches that threshold that I always like to look for, where both the Vegas line and the projection data is over by 2. That's going to be Mookie Betts. We also have a couple of other ones. Fernando Tatis, Freddie Freeman is very close to being over that threshold. And then this one by Aaron Judge, I do find to be extremely interesting. The line is only set at 7. And with Aaron Judge today, we are also getting hits, runs, RBIs as a decent one to roll with as well. We can see about a 50% chance for them to hit. But for me, I'm kind of looking at that like, all right, if the hitting fantasy score one is one of the better ones that we're getting for Aaron Judge, like, do we just almost go hits, runs, RBIs there? That's kind of what I'm leaning towards now. Why might he not get that? Why might he get the hitting fantasy score over the hits, runs, RBIs? Well, pretty simple. 2 walks and an RBI. That could easily be the reason why. And with a player like Aaron Judge, that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Heck, he could get 2 walks and 2 runs scored on that as well. So it's not like just because the hitting fantasy score is so low and we have a hits, run, RBI one that seems decent that we should just go with the hits, runs, RBIs, because you can certainly see where the hitting fantasy score could hit and the hits, runs, RBI one doesn't hit. I'll probably just go with this one because honestly, they should both correlate somewhat. At the same time, he could get a hit and a run or an RBI and then knock it over the fantasy score. So that's really going to be up to you guys. I'm going to be betting one of those, as you'll see. So we are getting a decent amount of good bets, I would say, for the Taco Tuesday slips. And for what it's worth, like, I don't mind the idea of pairing Freddie Freeman with Mookie Betts. Freeman is the one that's a little bit better, but we can see Mookie Betts been struggling lately besides one game. And same thing with Freddie Freeman in terms of like getting the over fantasy score. And against Colorado, a game that's obviously expected to be a higher scoring game, I would say both of them have a good chance of producing together. Like if one gets an RBI, the other one should be able to get a run. And then let's just take a peek at some of the other props that we were getting. We do have some NFL ones, so let's go ahead and pull up the NFL cheat sheet just right off the bat. And I'm actually curious to see if we're getting any props for these. I will say, like Russell Wilson, this one seems to be extremely low going against Chicago. Now that Las Vegas Raiders defense is one that kind of struggles as well against the pass, and they only put up 177. But I kind of expect Russell Wilson with a full allotment of his weapons, Mims, Judy, and Sutton there to be able to have another good game. Now, the only worry I would have is maybe he rushes the football a little bit too efficiently, but that was one of the ones that stood out to me when the lines first dropped. And then to me, if Jordan Love gets back Christian Watson, I do like the over here. The only reason why he kind of struggled passing the ball against Atlanta is because he had a few DPIs in that game, which that's part of the frustration in NFL, I will say, is penalties taking away points. And then with Russell Wilson, I think you could easily pair him up with either Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy. Sutton has been the one that I've been talking up the whole season. I kind of expected him to be the receiver number 1. That being said, Jerry Jeudy, much more of a big play guy. We've seen Marvin Mims actually get a little bit more work down the field, kind of being used as a Tyler Lockett type for Russell Wilson. I'll be interested to see if Jerry Jeudy gets involved a little bit more downfield, gets a little bit more air yards. Either or, I think those are both going to be good bets. You could easily pair those two up with Russell Wilson as well. And those ones were kind of the ones that stood out to me. I will say Nico Collins, I don't mind the idea of over receiving yards. The last game, it was much more of Tank Dell and also Robert Woods. They didn't really need Nico Collins, unfortunately, for anyone that invested in him last week. This is a low number going against Pittsburgh, though. And then, honestly, this number with Kendrick Bourne seems extremely low. I want to take a peek at his snap counts. All right, we don't have any for week 3 just yet. A little bit too early. Week 2, he played 51. Week 1, he played 91. I'm actually just going to search this real quick online because typically data is a little bit slower than some other just like Patriots-based websites. All right, so I was able to find it only 57%. And so I want to call this out because we did see him in a game where they were playing from behind against Philly in week 1, him playing 91% of the snaps. Now, can we expect that? Probably not, especially with Parker back. But to me, I do think if they're playing from behind against Dallas, this is such an extremely low number for their current receiver number 1. I say current because I do think eventually that'll be Demario Douglas. So just real quickly, I want to highlight these. These are kind of crazy, guys. We're getting a lot of current under bets for that Thursday night football game. It seems to be PrizePicks is currently overvaluing that game. So if these ones are still there by the time you go to make your Taco Tuesday bets, by all means, I'd probably hammer this one, Sam Laporta. A lot of his production came on one big play, one blown coverage there by the Atlanta Falcons. That might actually be something we target in DFS. And for what it's worth, like we're not getting that many other, props for this game. All the other ones that we're getting are basically 50-50 split. I want to call it another one though in this game. Oh man, they took it away. I was going to say Luke Musgrave had a low receiving yard total. It was like 32.5, I think, or 33.5. The Lions had struggled against the pass with tight ends, and he had been playing a lot of snaps. That is frustrating to me. All right, let's just take a peek at the rest of the board for today, seeing where we're getting any potential edges. Total bases, actually, 2 here that are not bad, about 53% chance for those ones to hit, but also projected to get a little bit higher. You got Bo there as someone that we could be looking at for the over hits, runs, RBIs at 1.5. He's projected to get 2. It's not terrible there. Some decent lines that we are getting, I would say. More shoulder shrug bets. Like if you feel the need to extend your slip out, you can make those. I want to call it something that we are getting for WNBA though. Alyssa Thomas rebounds. PrizePicks and Vegas has set at 8.5 and they're favoring the under. Now I want to call out that she is projected to get 11.6. So, if you're just someone that primarily does EV bets, by all means roll with that. If you're someone that also uses the projected data, maybe not. And then also this one with Alyssa Thomas. 16 is her point total on PrizePicks, whereas the average Vegas line currently has it set at 16.5, and they also are favoring the over there decently. So that is one where I think we can be betting the over. That seems to be a really good one that we are getting. All right, so looking at, guys, this would be an example of what I mean by find the best 5 individual bets on the slate and pair those up with the taco. That's my plan for today. Make the 5 best individual bets on each taco. That way we can end up with a profit on the day. Take advantage of the free promo money is what I always like to call it, that they're trying to give out to us. So this is an example of it. Now, my only worry is that this one is going to get bumped. So I'm not sure if this will even be there by the time I upload the video. That's the unfortunate part of giving out content, guys, when it comes to EV betting. Like they're going to correct the markets. And so that's why I always like to roll, 2 reasons. The hitting fantasy score prop has been the most profitable prop that's out there on PrizePicks. So that's the main reason I like to use it. But also, they don't really change the numbers either, even though we typically are getting a big edge on these. So I'm going to be rolling with these ones for sure. These 3. And we did see the Freddie Freeman one's probably the best one, but I do like the idea of pairing these 2 together. I would say there is somewhat of a correlation there that if one of them gets there, the other one has a better chance of getting there over as well because, one of them is going to score a run while one of them gets an RBI. Like if it's going to be that high scoring, they should correlate. Then Aaron Judge, I did go with the hitting fantasy score. If you guys want to go with hits, runs, RBIs, you can. The pitching fantasy score, that's going to be the best one that we have, I would say, available on the slate. Typically, we don't get those situations where the pitching fantasy score is both projected to be over and the Vegas line is favoring the over. Not slightly, but not much. And this one I pulled from the ODDSJAM Fantasy Optimizer. Just to remind you guys that I did partner with them. To really give you guys some bets that stand out like that. And so right now they are showing us that we are getting some decent ones for soccer right now. So if you guys want to take advantage of those, you can. This is literally the way I like to use the most. It's like when I feel the need to put an extra bet on the slip and I don't feel comfortable with the ones we have out there, I might roll with a lesser known sport. And that's where I can use this tool. If you guys want to access to that, is $75 a month, but you can get 25% off by using promo code 9to5, and that actually kicks back money my ways as well. So it's a good way for you guys to support your bankroll, but also to support the channel. If you guys want access to my cheat sheet, it is available for just $10 a month. Guys, it's going to be all for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Let's have a good slate on this Taco Tuesday. And as always, let's keep cash.